Hi, my name is Don Anderson. Today I'm going to show you how to make perfectly aligned Celtic circles with a center strip, like these in this pepper mill. Please keep in mind to adapt this information to fit your project. First of all, we need to build two jigs, one for gluing and the other one for cutting. This is the pattern for my salt and pepper grinder. These X's on the pattern represent where the Celtic circles are going to go. So I've got a piece of plywood and a 2x4 that's about 2.5 inches thick. So I'm going to put this on this edge. My pattern is about in the middle. This is a 30-degree angle. I'm going to slide it along this board until it lines up here. Then I'm going to take a pencil and mark the 2x4 right there, and another 2x4, center it, and mark that where the Celtic circle is going to meet it here. We're going to dado these two areas 1 inch wide and a 1/2 inch deep. Okay, the dados are in now that line up with the Celtic circles. The excess pieces for the Celtic circles fit into here. And now I have glued and screwed to the back, and the other piece, which also lines up with the Celtic circles, floats. You'll use this for clamping your block. The last several items are 2 pieces of visqueen and a thinner piece of wood for the top. This is the Celtic circle cutting jig that you'll need to build. This is a 2 inch wide piece of 2x4, a piece of 3/4 inch plywood that's glued and screwed on its edge, a 30-degree angle along here with a strip of wood glued and screwed to its top. It's very important that this edge is smooth and exactly 90 degrees to your table saw top. This area's been removed so it misses your table saw blade. This is designed to slide back and forth on your miter and get clamped into place. You'll put your block along this edge, slide it back and forth to get clamped into place. Your main turning block needs to be the exact dimensions on both sides. So you're going to run it through the table saw twice. Make sure that your table saw blade is exactly 90 degrees. Precisely mark the center of your block. Double check your measurements. If you're off center, your circles won't line up. Put it on the table saw and do a small test cut. Now remeasure. Now cut the block down the middle. If the two halves aren't of equal width, recut the thicker one to match the thinner half. They will now be perfectly matched. Take a contrasting wood and cut it to match the dimensions of your block. Cut 6 slices to the exact width of your table saw blade cut. If you don't match the width of your blade, the circles will grow or shrink while gluing up. 4 of these pieces will be for Celtic circles and will be shortened later. This is how you're going to glue this up. Take a long piece of visqueen, lay it against the back. Take your first piece of your block, glue it up, lay it against the back. Your centerpiece, glue it up on both sides, lay it against that one. Take your last piece, glue it up, set it in there, make sure everything's even on the ends. Take this block, Put it on the outside, another strip of plastic on top, and your top piece. Always remove extra glue where you can. Save you a lot of time. This is how the clamping looks. There's a clamp on each end, one in the middle, and one on each end at the top. This should keep your piece straight and square. After the glue dries, take your piece out of the jig and scrape off the excess glue. Sand lightly with coarse sandpaper. Don't oversand your piece out of square. So now I have two center strips. I scraped and sanded most of the glue off and squared off each end. Now I want to glue an end block on here. Cut it to the dimensions of the block. Before you start your next glue up, make sure that your gluing jig is absolutely clean and there's no glue along this surface or in here. There's a little bit. Ready to go. Go to your glue up jig, take a piece of visqueen and lay it along the edge with plastic sticking out and a little bit up here. Lay your block in here, but leave an edge of here of your gluing block. Take this piece, put it in here, fold this up, take your side piece, put that here, take another piece of visqueen, lay it on top. You're going to put this here. There's a clamp going up and down, crosswise, and one going down the middle to pull it up tight. Nicely lined up. Now we got a mark on your main block where your Celtic Circle cuts are going to be. Lay your pattern on your block, make sure the bottom is even, center it, and center the pattern on your block. Where the Celtic Circles intersect, I've drilled a small hole in the pattern. Through this hole, mark the wood. Take the pattern off and draw a line across it. Now take a block of wood and push it up against the far side. Take your 30-degree angle, slide along the block until it intersects your line perfectly. At the top end, draw a line. And you only need one line here. From this line, you're going to place a mark across here, put a square across it, and draw a line across your block. You only need this line at this point. Now it's very important that your miter is absolutely square. I put my square on it and it's following this groove perfectly. Now it's time to use the cutting jig that you made earlier. Place it on your miter and it'll slide back and forth. Take your block of wood, and what you want to do is line your blade up perfectly to cut exactly on your line that you just drew. So this could be slid in and out, and this could be up and down to get exactly on your mark. So I put a headset on now so I can see my pencil line. So my line is pretty close, so I feel confident enough to clamp here. And with this clamp handy, I'm going to go up to my blade and when the line touches the edge of the blade, I think I'm good. Clamp it, making sure your blade doesn't hit your clamp. So a few taps with my hammer and I'm exactly on the line. It's important when you start to push your block through that you're pushing down on the wood to keep it tight to your table saw top. Let's cut it. Now we're ready for glue up, and this is the sequence. Take a piece of visqueen, that's the width of your piece, and lay it in the bottom. Take the shortest piece with the bottom over here and lay it in. You're going to glue this up, lay it across there, and then the longer piece goes here. Then this piece goes on, and the excess goes into these notches. After lining everything up, we're going to put a piece of visqueen on top, and then your top piece, and clamp it all tight. I've glued the pieces and assembled them in the glue up jig. I've got 3 clamps, one on each end, one kind of close to this intersection, and one at this end. They're snug, but not too tight. Now the secret here is on the lengthwise clamp that's centered at both ends. Start tightening it and keep a sharp eye on your center strip. If you over tighten, these pieces are going to slip past each other and bulge out, and your center line will be off. So tighten it until glue is coming out, and with the help of my headlight, I think it's lined up. I've added a piece of visqueen and the top thinner piece of wood, and I put a clamp where it crosses here and one at each end. Now let's tighten them up evenly, going around and around. I've taken the clamps off, and let's see what's inside. Smooth down here, and a smooth across there. Now we need to trim these excess ears off. After ungluing, it's a good idea to scrape off any extra glue so it doesn't clog up your sanding belts or saw blades. I use my bandsaw to trim off the excess ears. Next, you're going to mark your main block for your diagonal cut. Where this wood meets the edge, make a precise mark on the next side. Put your square on it and mark it across the wood. One more time. Transfer this mark, and this is your important mark right here. Okay, I'm ready for my second cut. I think I'm lined up, and I'll do a little trial cut. Right on the money. Now it's important to hold this piece down because it might be twisted a little bit. All the pieces are glued and in the gluing jig. The side clamps are snug but not too tight because these two pieces need to come together. On the lengthwise clamp, I'm going to tighten slowly until I see glue starting to squeeze out. And most importantly, the previous cross piece is lined up. They may be off this way or that way, but it's very important now to tighten until they're lined up. And I think they're lined up now, so I'm going to stop and put the top plastic on, the top piece, and the 3 clamps along the top. Repeat this process 2 more times. I just took off the clamps for our last and 4th Celtic Circle piece. Let's see what we got. This cross piece looks perfectly lined up in all directions. This side looks perfect too, in all directions, as this should be. let's cut off the ears. I've mounted the glued up piece onto my lathe to turn it round and see what we have here. I'm partway through turning this round and we're starting to see the curves of the circles. This area is flat and these are the curves starting to show. I finished the rounding process and all the intersections line up perfectly. With attention to details, I hope that you end up with nice Celtic circles for your turnings. I hope that this demonstration was helpful for the next time you try making Celtic circles in wood. This is Don Anderson saying goodbye for now.